good to know. I didn't know that.
Right. Which we're gonna correct in this new lease presently.
Gosh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's taking so long. Our conversation is recording, but our cameras are not on. Oh, we're live.
Great, we'll call the meeting to order. And again, Seth, I think we'll be here in a few minutes, he said. Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, did everybody have a chance to read the minutes for last month? Or I should say, did anybody not have the chance to read them?
I read them this morning.
Okay, are there any changes or discussion? Okay, minutes stand approved. We have financial reports and claims.
Yes. Don't have your financial report, but I do have
Give me
claims.
1 second.
Sure.
Go ahead, Peter.
Were we gonna do any public comments?
Yep, I called for him a minute ago. Would you like to make a public comment?
I would.
Okay.
Peter Wolfgram, my hangar is pretty much complete except for heat. And we're having a heck of a time finding affordable buried propane tank.
Hmm.
I mean, they're talking thousands to bury a tank. I was wondering if the board would entertain an above ground tank. You can put 100 gallon next to a building. If you would entertain a waiver of the underground tank until we can find something affordable.
Where all of you looked?
Seth has looked. I don't know exactly, but he said the ones he contacted were quite expensive for a 250 gallon tank buried.
I don't know, of course, I've been 15 years ago, but I paid $3,500 to Petrolane for a 1,000-gallon buried tank,
Yeah,
and I had to get the hole dug.
yeah.
Now, I found out since then that Montana Energy Alliance
Uh-huh.
has them much more reasonable, and Suburban Propane has them, and I don't know their fee. But I can get those telephone numbers to you.
Okay. But I was wondering if we can, that's the last thing we have to do is install a heater. And I was wondering if we could entertain a temporary waiver till we can get something buried.
Well, by temporary, I mean, you need a propane before.
Well, we're still working on a company, but, you know, anyway.
I'm not personally in favor of the 100-gallon or 100-pound tanks. When you run a 500-gallon tank or something like that, there's a good place to put it, but them smaller tanks, I hate to see that start.
Okay, thank you.
Well, my question is it an urgent thing? I mean, heat will be required probably till October, I would imagine, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, we'll be sometime this fall, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, we had the heat on the last couple of days.
Yeah.
At home,
I know.
you really don't know. So I was just checking to see if that would be possible.
Okay.
Till we get one buried.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly discuss that. Thank you.
I did mention to your dad about Montana Energy Alliance. Have you visited with them about propane
I haven't.
tank?
I've been dealing drugs too much to
It's not a priority. Things aren't super cold, but I did get a hold of the vintage propane guy, and I got the pamphlet on spacings and things of that nature too, which the board would probably be pretty interested in, because
Yeah.
if you go with a 1,000-gallon tank, it has to be X feet away, and even an above ground 500-gallon tank has to be further away than what the hangars are spaced. So by nature, they're all going to have to be buried.
Well, and we did recently decide that as policy, and Peter's asked for a waiver, a temporary waiver.
So yeah, that's for board decision. I didn't bring that information because, of course, I forgot it. So But I
I can furnish you a telephone number for Suburban Propane also,
sure, yeah,
and Montana Energy Alliance, which is through the co-op.
as far as that, I've just haven't got quite to it. I've been working on trying to get the sprinkler system, because I contacted the plumber today and got an ETA on the plunger kit for the frost free to at least get that operating. So that's supposed to be in tomorrow, so hopefully.
Rob or Jess, you have any comment?
Well, I think, that it sounds like there's some issues that we weren't aware of in terms of offsets.
Well, I didn't read through it to a fine-tooth comb, so those were just ballpark estimates. So I don't think any hanger would go up to 1,000-gallon tank. That appears to be where the problem would lie in, as far as offsets and things of that nature.
And what did we say in our agreement, our policy? It was 500 gallons. Didn't we just talk about this?
500 or
Couple
I think it was
1,000. I
500.
think 1,000 was maximum.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, maybe a hanger that didn't have any hangers next to it, you
But they
could
will
do
eventually,
something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I guess my opinion is, we could possibly revisit a waiver come August, September, when heat, if you haven't found something by then, or, if we can try and reach out to some of these other companies and see, and if we're in the same boat, then, revisit it going into fall and when you'll really need the heat.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
And,
I think
I understand what Bob is saying. We start with one, and then the next guy wants it, and we have to,
Well,
watch that, but-
I'm referring to the 100-gallon tank. That's a standalone,
right.
it's a bad deal. If you're gonna have a tank sit outside, it needs to be the 250 or the 500 or something like that. So you have a tank that's made to be stood outside and used, and you're gonna have the proper connections, so on and so forth, instead of, it's like hooking up a 20-pound bottle out of your camper. It's not a good deal.
Which I don't think is what he's
Nothing to
talking
get
about.
started.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Just a point of correction, it's a 100-gallon tank, not just
Not
a
a 100-pounder?
100-pound, not a 100-pound tank. It's
Oh, I thought it was a 100-pound.
It's a 100-gallon tank. Actually holds 120, but you can only fill it to
Right, right.
to 80%. Not a bottle.
Okay,
So,
I misunderstood.
yeah, that's so.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll see this fall.
Okay.
I guess the other thing I would add is that all of this, of course, has to go according to building code. And so I think that's the driving issue here in terms of what we need to be making sure that everything is according to code. And so if in fact, you can provide sources for reasonable underground, which is what we voted on,
Right.
then I think that would be, desirable based on, the issues in terms of clearances on taxiways and all that sort of stuff. So I think that it's an issue that sort of expands if we have surface propane tanks that might interfere with taxiway clearances, things of that sort. So,
Yeah.
so I think further research is needed to make sure everything's done within code.
Okay, so if you don't find a solution by fall, then we'll revisit it. Does that sound
Yeah.
acceptable? Okay, financial reports and claims, please.
Okay, for claims, I have two. two for Montana Aeronautics Division for 40-watt lamp for 80, and then another one for Montana Aeronautic Division for 30-watt bulbs for 10130. So that's one claim. And the other claim is both for Townsend Hardware, one for 3248 for brush paint Thompson Water Seal, and one for 499 some caulking that Blake did. So that's Townsend Hardware, so two claims.
Oh.
That's it.
On the financial topic, Daryl and I did sit down a couple days ago and discuss the budget. I want to say there's no big changes. I mean, there's a massive change with the runway project, but that's self-canceling with the FA and Montana Aeronautics funding. The only other big change was we lost $14,000 a year with the loss of the participation of the city. So that will need to be made up. Right now, we have it evened out with our AIP funds, but anyway, otherwise there's nothing really to report there. But.
I have a question on the one. Dwight, are we totally out of some of them lamps for the lighting?
Dwight Thompson,
Or Dwight.
airport manager. The bulbs we were totally out, and I think there was 11 bulbs that were off on the runway. Unfortunately, they're different bulbs, and we don't have all the same bulbs, and so you got to get one. Aeronautics did say they know that we're going to be putting another runway in, and whatever we have left over at the end of the year, they'll buy them back.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's
Thank you.
great.
Yeah, they're pretty pricey bulbs. I mean,
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
but what do you do?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the bulb in them big old rotating beacons.
Yeah.
That was a 4,000 watt lamp. I think it was 4,000 watt.
Get past that back then.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Darn sure make the meter spin.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the claims?
I'll move to approve the minutes and the claims.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I hadn't talked to Lance. Is he not calling in?
He
Has anybody heard?
he told me they had two items. It was the two that are on that I added and revised that he was gonna talk to you about, and he needed to talk to you about the drafting of the airport zoning permit, a discussion, so I assumed he was,
Gonna be here, that's what I thought. Okay, well, we'll wait till the last on that one.
okay.
Okay, next topic is the lease agreement language. And Barbara has provided us all with the changes. There are 3.
Yes.
First one is on page 2. I think Daryl had spotted this as a mistake that's been in there or didn't get updated or something. But anyway, on page 2 of 5.1, taxiway, building must be set back 39.5 feet from the center line of the taxiway, and it says 20 foot setback between the building. That's supposed to be 27 according to Lance.
Right.
Okay, so that's change number 1. The second 2 changes are on 13.2.3 and number 15. Okay, so 13.2.3, so this is added language. Lessee entering into buy-sell agreement or similar contract for the sale of lot number, hangar number, to a third party. Prior to closing of the sale, the lessee shall inform the lessor, that's us, of the potential sale and obtain written permission from the lessor pursuant to section 15 of this lease. the new owner shall execute a new lease with the lessor. Okay, number 15, again, this is in the blue towards the bottom of the paragraph here. This is added language. Any potential new owner of property within the premises shall execute a new lease with the lessor prior to taking possession. Failure to act in accordance with this section shall constitute a material breach of this lease. So the 13.2.3, the way it sets now, there's a huge hole in our program. So when a new lot comes up, we vet the people, we make sure that they understand the requirements. We know who they are. We explain to them the uses that can be done with the lease and how they have to build, et cetera, et cetera. And so we know what's going on. When an existing hangar sells, we have no idea it even happened. So who did they sell it to? Is this person a developer? Are they just gonna put a boat in there? Are they gonna flip it? Are they gonna turn around and sublease it to someone that with non-aviation use that doesn't have any business out there or whatever? So on the lots, we have all the control, and we can help manage that process. But on an existing hangar, we don't even have a say in the matter until somebody is hundreds of thousands of dollars into it. And now, you know, it also says elsewhere in the lease that, you know, no lease will be reasonably denied. And by the time we get to that point, now there's huge financial consequences for someone. And so this is simply correcting that. If you're going to sell, or if you're going to buy a hangar, and actually it's for the buyer as well, because if you're a buyer and you're about to spend X number of dollars on an expensive hangar, I've had people call me like, hey, I'm about to write a check for a hangar. Am I going to get a lease? You know, so if you're the buyer, you're thinking, gosh, I'd like some written something formal that says,
I think it's
yes, your
definitely necessary.
six-figure
Yes.
investment is safe.
Definitely necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the concept behind
Keep
that.
both
for sure.
parties informed.
Sure,
Yes.
yeah.
And again, it says that no lease will be unreasonably denied. So it's not as if, you know, we're saying, oh, we get to pick and choose
Who you
buddies.
sell.
That's not how that works. It's simply providing us with the opportunity to make sure that they understand the requirements and them with the good faith that their investment is safe.
So, what about people who currently have a lease? Are they going to have to sign this new lease then? Because under the terms of their lease,
This is
they're not required to go forward and produce a lease
We
to a
have
buyer.
provide them 90 days, I think,
Okay.
notice.
I would assume that they're under the old lease.
I think they're under the old lease.
And the old lease doesn't have any language like this in it. So
Right.
anytime that there's a sale, they wouldn't be obligated.
No, but anybody picking it
Anyone.
up, yes.
Yeah. And this should have obviously been in many years ago, but, you know, I've had a discussion with a few people about it, and I mean, the fact of the matter is, number one, there wasn't as many hangars, and number two, they didn't sell very much. And now
So-
that there's more hangars that sell a lot, this is becoming glaringly obvious that we had a hole in our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going forward, I guess, you know, per se, that gentleman right there has a hangar lease that doesn't have this in it. So would we provide just a copy of the potential lease to all current hangar owners going forward so that they know if they are to sell, that this would be the terms that they'd be presenting to their new?
Well, their lease doesn't obligate that.
I guess, and I may
But I
be
think we
wrong.
can recall at least.
Go ahead, Jess.
I may be wrong in this, but I was under the understanding that with this new lease and all the changes that we have done, we were sending an addendum to all current hangar owners, and they were to be aware, sign. I don't know legally, do they have to sign? I'm not sure. But at one point, there was discussion that all the changes were going to be notified to current.
Yeah, I would think even with an addendum as a seller, you have good faith that you have to display all known things. And so if you give this addendum to all the hang owners saying that going forward this would be the lease that a future buyer would get, that they would
This is
have to
what you're gonna-
produce that
Yeah.
as a good faith effort, because if you know something in a sale, you can't hide it. You can't, it's known knowledge, so. Just as long as everyone's on the same page, is I
Now, I
guess is
guess
what.
the question then there stands, do they have to comply with the addendums if it's not technically in their personal lease? That would be a question for
I don't
the
know.
attorney.
Yeah, I don't think we have that answer.
Yeah, we don't have that answer,
So,
but I think that would be the intent. Now, my experience at Three Forks was that when a new lease was written up, all the hangar owners were compelled to sign the new lease. And the lease terms had changed. And the
And that
key-
may be the case,
That may be in
and that
this
would
lease.
probably be the best situation,
Mhm.
because then everybody is on the same lease.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, we have different leases out there for different hangar owners,
Yeah,
Correct.
from,
Right,
that's right.
Jeannie's lease versus Chris's lease versus my lease
mhm.
versus
Yeah,
your guys'
Yeah.
lease.
so how would that change the elephant in the room ones, the hangar home?
It wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, Bob.
Well, we don't have the old lease, a copy of it here. But for some reason, I was thinking there was a clause in there that in order to change something on that lease, we needed to inform the lessees, give them 90 days notice. Don't ask me where I've seen that.
It might be in this lease, I don't know. I'd have to read through it, which I won't bore everybody with, so.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, I think an addendum is going out. We had that discussion, and that would be a question for, I think, the commissioners and or the attorney, but unfortunately we don't have.
As long as there's information given to all the current hangar owners.
Yeah, but
then-
you make a
then-
good point. We
then
can't
it's a
have
sale.
15 different leases going on that. we
No.
don't know
Right.
what's
No,
going on.
we
Okay.
can't do that.
All right. Okay.
I guess, and then to include in that addendum would be these changes along with the addition that we added last meeting.
Yes.
Like, everybody needs to be aware of that. So
Mhm.
I guess, Abra, if you could talk to Daryl, or maybe he would chime in if he's listening, or, the attorney, of how we go about that, I guess.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then the third change here that we're talking about, number 15 at the bottom, any potential new owner shall execute a lease. In other words, there's just nothing in there that currently says, when you have bought this place, you do have to sign a lease, you have to have a lease. I think that was assumed that was self-explanatory, but there has been situations where it's drug out, and we're just putting it in black and white that,
Right.
just so everybody's aware.
So one of the, just bringing this up with regard to the sublease, there is a statement that we have in here that I think carried over from the previous that says any such sublease assignee or transferee shall be subject to the same conditions, obligations, and terms as set forth, and the leasee shall not be relieved of primary responsibility for compliance and performance obligations of the lease. And so I think that specifically carries over with regard to the issue of aeronautical use.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so I think that is a critical feature of what we're requiring with regard to any sort of sublease. And since we're on the discussion of leases with regard to the agreement that we approved last month, in close reading, I realized that nowhere within the document does it specifically require the leasee to comply to aeronautical use. And so I would propose in our next meeting a discussion with regard to adding that language to the tenancy agreement that we put forth with regard to hangar month-to-month
Okay.
occupation. And so.
Okay, so let's divvy that up. Let's put that on the agenda
Yeah,
and use it as a separate item
Sure.
from what
But
this
I mean, we
discussion is.
currently have it under lease business, so I wanted to
Yeah.
bring it up.
Yeah,
To make sure
absolutely.
that,
Yep.
because we seem to have missed that in the last agreement, because I think that's a critical aspect of any tenant that's subleasing, that be primarily for aeronautical use.
Agreed. Okay. Okay, so let's move forward with this. I guess the next step would be a motion to approve the new verbiage in the lease, and then we can discuss.
I would so move.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the new language for the 27-foot, the addition of 13.2.3, and the last paragraph of 15. Any discussion? I mean, we've already discussed it at length. I've outlined the need for it. Is there any thoughts on that? Were you going to say something, Seth? Oh, go ahead.
Dwight Thompson, Airport Manager. Just to dovetail on this a little bit, the Canyon Ferry hangar belonging to Don Keller and Ruth. They have a gentleman that's been kind of taking care of the grounds around it. And I stopped in and visited with him the other day, and he made the comment that he was looking at purchasing the hangar from them. I guess Don's health is failing, and he wants to use the hangar for storage. So I did tell him that he would need to contact the board and do a lease agreement. But he's
Was
not a
the plane
pilot.
still in there?
He's from Winston. He gave me his name, and but the guy's from Winston. I guess he helped construct the original hangar. If you know anything about that, Bob. But yeah, but
I believe those were,
Does he have an airplane or?
no,
straight-
he doesn't. He's not a pilot. He's just has been maintaining the place and
he's interested in buying it for storage.
correct. Yeah. So I just
Can't do that.
Okay,
wanted to let you know about that.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
speak? Daryl just texted me and said they are correct that an addendum will be sent to all hangar owners to get everyone on the same lease. Maybe signing a new lease is a good idea.
Mhm.
Excellent.
I think that is because of all the changes with the huge influx of people, all the situations that are going on out there, I think that would be now, can you mandate it? I don't know.
Because even the ones that I sent to the hangar priority people have changed
Right,
since then.
Right.
Due to the
Right.
city language and also, so we've changed
Mhm.
it like 3 times since then.
exactly.
So I'm waiting for,
But can you
Send it out.
force someone, like, as a hangar owner, do I have to sign the new one, or? Like,
you
I
can get a
agreed to
text from
the
Daryl.
old lease,
do
but,
they have to sign it if they don't agree with the addendums? Like, if they don't agree with the language is what you're
Right.
saying, the changes we made to the lease that they didn't originally sign.
I don't know, I just throwing it out there, that's a
Yep.
Good
possibility.
question.
Anyways, okay, we're discussing.
Pardon
Need
me.
to vote on that.
Okay, is there any further discussion on the additions to this lease? Okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's a great change. And we'll get final word on the addendum versus new lease, and whether it's compulsory, I'm sure it is. Okay. I also, along the same discussion line, Dwight, I had somebody approach me and said, yeah, put me on the list for a hangar. I'm going to develop it and flip it. And I said, well, I don't think we can do that. And he said, well, none of your business. And I said, actually, it is. It's in the lease. So.
And you're talking to the chairman. Wrong person.
Wrong all the way around.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm a little bit not up to speed on the Jeremy Metz and Brian Foster discussion. I read the minutes on Brian Foster. Sounds like he wants to forfeit or abandon his lease and give it up. What was the ruling last month?
Okay, so, the last, was getting a formal letter to him, and we had kind of discussed, I know Rob can talk, why don't you say what the.
Yeah, so the discussion went that we decided to provide a formal letter that he's abandoning the lease and that we are letting him abandon the lease. And I think we had further discussion that subsequent to that, if he reapplies, then we will consider his application. But we're not necessarily maintaining his order, if I remember correctly.
Good.
In terms of the discussion.
And as far as the letter goes, the update is I needed to run that through Kay. I emailed her on the 29th of May. She replied that she needed his lease in order to help me with that. I sent the lease. A week later, I also sent a draft of a letter that I thought might work to get her opinion on, to see if she could, lead me a little bit. Didn't hear back from her. I know she's busy. So yesterday, I just reminded her we were having the airport board meeting tonight, and that I just needed to know where we were at with that. And I didn't hear back from her. So currently, Brian has been sent no letter right now
Okay.
until I can get
Okay.
Kay to help.
Well, worst case scenario is 180 days. It runs out.
Or
Yeah.
he's beyond 180 days.
Oh, he is.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he
Oh.
did email, I sent you that email, he did email us in December saying he was
Yeah.
not going to move forward. So he did let us know.
Okay.
Yeah, you brought that up in that December meeting, that he had gotten a hold of the airport board. He was not gonna move forward, but this formalizes it because he's
Good.
exceeded 180 days.
Okay, so it'll free up that spot, which is great.
Yep.
Okay, so the second one on the list is Jeremy Metz. I'm also unfamiliar with that.
Okay, so because that was now available,
Yeah.
The board asked me to contact the next person on the list, which was Jeremy. He gave me can I think about that? And I said, yes. He called me back or texted me and said, yes, I would like to move forward with that. And the only thing I've received from him is this first hangar. And I know he has, I said, you have the copy of the lease and the hangar check sheet. And he said, yes. And that's what I got as a picture. So I maybe need to perhaps
He's
let me
also
know
gonna
what you'd like me
need-
to do.
He's gonna also need a
This-
copy of the new lease.
Yeah, you can give him a
You gave him a copy of the lease, correct?
Well, I gave them all a copy of the lease. I can tell you when that was, back before I think we even changed the city, so,
Yeah.
and a copy of the hangar construction. So he would need a new,
I would just, follow up and say, we have had some changes and this is the current lease.
okay,
And we need the full lease back and the full sheet back.
yeah. And also, we have to have this
You wanna
approved by
have
the
Yeah.
commissioners first, don't we? We just approved this
Doesn't tell them
language, or we
very
don't
much.
need it approved by the
Yeah.
commissioners.
No, I think we do. That
Okay, so
needed
then I have to
approved by the
wait for-
commissioners
yeah.
before we can make it
Yeah.
official.
It's-
Yes.
Okay, so I need to wait until that's,
Okay.
That just raised something that I hadn't thought of, and that's that the previous lease was the city and the county. Everybody at this point has to sign a new lease because it's only with the county.
Yeah.
So
True.
the city is no longer part of the lease agreement, so
And
that's an
this-
invalid.
This is gonna be the county lease.
Yeah, it's a county lease, not a city lease or a joint lease, so.
Okay.
So I think we are gonna have to have everyone sign the new lease.
Okay, so on Jeremy Metz, we are awaiting paperwork
Yeah.
for his lease to review. Great. Our esteemed airport manager, the floor is yours.
yeah.
I agree.
Dwight Thompson, airport manager. I've received many phone calls from Jeremy, almost on a weekly basis. That, that is his airplane that's parked out on the ramp. That's if you were kind of wondering, that belongs to him. I did reseal the trailer. That's what the water seal was for, is because that wood is already acting like a sponge. So I did reseal that the other day. We've been working on changing the runway lights at Uniform 8, and I didn't notice this until tonight, but Montana State Weight and Measures came by. I met with him, and I thought I had sent the report to you until I was looking at things tonight. So the good news is we passed.
Thanks.
Oh,
And they're gonna have a new, measuring device next year that will do 100 gallons and then put it back into the tank somehow, so it's more accurate, but.
Hopefully by next year we'll have something that'll produce 100 gallons.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So with that, the fuel meter, Fuel Masters, they've been getting a hold of Abra, and we have a meeting, I guess, tomorrow. Is that right, Abra?
Mhm,
They're going
late
to contact me.
morning.
I mean, frankly, I'm a little disappointed that they have drug this out a while, and
Yeah,
They were gonna be
And-
here on Monday, but
Oh.
I had a meeting in Bozeman, and he
Oh,
was
okay.
in Helena, so he had to change it to Thursday.
we continue to have issues. I had an issue today. I think Bob called me a couple days ago with another issue with another guy.
I gave the guy your number today
Yeah.
too. Sorry, but
It,
direction it needs to go.
it's how the moon line, or how the stars line up, I guess, whether or not you're going to get fuel or not. The guy that today called, he just tried a different credit card. I asked him to call me back if he had problems. He called me back and said the other credit card works. So it's just continued issues, and we're working on it. So I'm looking forward to meeting or talking to this guy again tomorrow, so we can just get this ball
Yeah.
rolling.
yeah,
It's
it's
been
surprising
going
it's
on.
this difficult.
I
Yeah.
mean, if it was my employee, I'd, yeah, I mean, gosh, he's trying to sell equipment. He's trying to sell equipment, but that's
Well,
I
in
don't
some
get
sense
it.
he is. I mean, maybe we're not the biggest account in the world, but we sell 60 grand worth of fuel a year. I
Yeah.
think they would want that business, but
Maybe more with working equipment.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, maybe
Yeah.
it would
Well,
be double
that's what I
that.
was just
Yeah.
gonna say, like,
Yeah.
we really do need to get on this because it's going to start cutting out, like, Townsend used to be the place to go.
to go for
cheap
you. Yeah.
Yes,
Now it's
Yeah.
gonna be the place to go where you can't get
Yeah.
fuel.
right.
Maybe you
Yep.
can.
The guy today was from Boise and had land here just to get fuel, but he ended up getting fuel, but you know,
With
he
the
had-
same credit card?
No. he's-
no, a different credit card.
Different credit
Yeah.
card.
hmm
Huh.
Yeah. He had thought about using a different one, but it's a work in progress, I guess. I don't get it. But
Yeah.
I've been working with Jessica Bushnell from County Weed Department and getting some different weed stuff to try. So that's been applied. 8 Uniform 9 Canyon Ferry is a fly-in that Montana Aeronautics has chosen us again to do their ACE high school program, finishing up this Saturday, so we're getting things kind of lined out there for them. The county did come and roll the airstrip and the parking area. They're expecting about 20 different planes, and so parking all of a sudden became a big issue where we're going to do that. Did meet with them, and they have a plan. They're going to do all the ground marshaling for us, so I don't need to worry about that. But we are going to try to use both ends of the runway on the south side, and so by their calculations, it looks like we can get 30 airplanes in there.
I think that's kind of what they did last year.
Okay, yeah, last year the weather was so bad,
Yeah.
and we ended up with 6.
Hopefully it's
so-
gonna get better.
Yeah, so they invited everybody from the board to come on out. They're gonna have some donuts and some things and stuff. They're just looking to, the students are looking to talk to pilots and how you got interested in aviation and what your careers and stuff would be, so, that said. That's about it.
Dwight, have you had a chance to look at that runway this morning or anything? Or did you?
I did. I was out there this morning again, and
Did the roll job stay there after the rain we had last
yeah,
night?
you know, it looks really nice. It's, yeah, and the nice thing about it is,
Hopefully that rain's not gonna loosen up because it was full of water
yeah,
today,
oh, yeah, this morning.
or this afternoon.
There's those points where they sprayed down that mag sulfate or whatever it is. It sends the kind of hold right there. In those. It's amazing how that in other areas of the runway just disappear. The water. Ken came out the day, yesterday to roll that after we had some rain. He thought, having some moisture on that to roll it would be really a benefit. And
Yeah.
he was saying that certain areas of the runway is just dry, hard. You know, it's just the moisture's already gone.
Yeah,
It's
you
so
don't get much
says I
out
need to
of it.
roll it when it's raining.
It goes away so fast, huh?
Yeah, I don't know that you can.
Yeah,
Probably bury the roller.
he rolled the parking area as well, which is nice. So, yeah.
And you've contracted some help on rodent control at Townsend, looks like.
Oh, did they come out?
No, your foxes.
Oh yeah, the fox, the
Yeah.
family fox.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I think there's 3 pups, but you know, I've only seen 2 at 2 at a time. But there's like 3 different faces. But yeah, they're
Hopefully
Yeah.
they're really hungry.
yeah. I hope you know
Yeah.
I think they're in our little gazebo spot there, the picnic area. Has the gopher population is down a little bit.
Nice.
You made me so paranoid. I like, what? We didn't sign a lease. I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked at your picture and went, oh.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, and they'll probably move on here in a couple of weeks or so. They'll probably be gone. So
Too much action out there, I'm sure.
yeah. So, any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, fuel pricing, no big change here. Wholesale price is $4.58 as of today or yesterday or something. Dwight checked the tank as always for us. We have 5,010 gallons left since I last reported, which was almost, I think, 3 months ago. We've averaged 26.5 gallons a day. At that rate, we'll burn another 4,000 gallons, which gets us to the point where we need a load in 151 days. That's November 17th. So we're looking good for buying fuel at the right time here. So I don't think there's any change there.
So 575?
Mhm. Okay, is there any new business? Yep.
Left out one thing. The process on the outhouse at Canyon Ferry. Mike Delger has been contacted to do that work for us. He has ended up having a kidney replacement, I believe it is, and I think he's due back. He's been
back.
Is he back now? Yeah. So I don't know if he's back to
Slowly.
work.
Not
Yeah.
supposed to do much for
Okay.
a few
Yeah.
months.
So yeah, he's been out of service. So that project's been kind of on hold.
Okay, thank you.
I just happened to think of something. We did put a couple things on the agenda. Did that deal you wanted to mention in that lease about for nautical use only? Did that
Oh, I brought that up under the lease language agreement.
Yep, that's going on
Okay.
next
Yeah.
next meeting. Okay, is there any new business?
I texted Daryl to see if he could text Lance. I also emailed Lance to see who was coming on. So
To follow up on Lance's stuff, if we're waiting, I did contact a guy who works for the Forest Service and does the firefighting stuff. He is digging for pictures for us.
Good.
I also asked if they would be willing to write something saying that additional ramp would be beneficial for safety. And he said that he was gonna check with his boss to see the proper avenue to go with that, and I haven't heard anything back, but I can follow up again.
Yeah, that'd be great. The tone of Lance's email and the emails from the FAA was that the ship has sailed on it. Is
Yeah.
what it sounded.
That's what
to
it
me
sounded like to me too.
That's not to say that it sounds like Lance had some ideas for additional opportunities to
right.
still
Take
make
pictures.
it work.
Take pictures of it, and it shows anything unsafe.
So does that additional ramp, I was
There's
gonna
a
look
copy
that
of
up,
it. Of what he-
include the taxiway then for all those hangars?
No.
Oh.
Yeah, we'll have to put in the taxiway. And the taxiway will be longer instead of part of it being the.
Because it was this blue area, correct? That's what we're discussing, that they
Mhm.
didn't want to expand that. So all of this, so those new spots are not gonna happen.
No, I believe they are. Now
That's
The
unclear.
taxiway should come
Oh,
all the
really?
way
I thought
up
that
to
was
the
alternate
north-south
number 2.
taxiway.
Because this is all in that color blue, and I thought he said the blue was the second, whatever.
Yeah, that is unclear to me as to
I
the
thought
impact of that.
alternate number 3 was the apron, alternate number 2 was the taxiway.
Um,
Or not have it right?
shoot, I wish we
It's
had
in one of his reports from
future.
Well, let me, in the absence of Lance here, let me read his email that he had sent for tonight's meeting. Primary item is that the FAA denied justification of the proposed apron expansion. That's additive alternate number 2. Okay, so I had that wrong. Project will proceed without this award, and I apologize, the email is cut off here on the printing. When users are located outside of proposed parking areas and within taxiway object-free areas creating safety hazards. It's cut off, so I apologize.
I can,
You got it?
I probably did it.
Sorry.
I did think about taking some pictures the other day when the ag guys were spraying and had the semi there and stuff.
Oh, good.
I didn't think about it, I was seeing it.
They'll be back.
Oh, you
When
didn't?
the potatoes come in.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Okay,
Maybe Daryl would have.
project will proceed without this awarded at this time, but please continue to try to provide photo documentation of the needed apron expansions, especially when users are located outside the proposed areas and within the object-free areas creating safety hazards. Okay, so we're all gonna keep hunting for that, which you guys are on and the rest of us can also be aware of. Item number 2, draft airport zoning permit application. I'm not sure I understand what he's saying here. Upon modifications/approval of this form, we utilize for proposed water tank, see attached documentation. This would be utilized anytime a proposed structure, tree, or object over 50 foot in the final mature height is constructed within the airport zoning areas. Requires a $250 fee and documentation through the FAA. And a bunch of numbers on forms.
I did not print that because it was 16 pages.
No, I have a copy of it, I have a copy here, I didn't, the only one he wanted me to print with you, for you was the application.
See what I think they have.
Well, it's
But I have that,
What
I
they
have
may
that
have to do
document, you can see
if they
it.
don't wanna do this, they're gonna have to bring this down, this taxiway down to this taxiway here. I'll have to bring this one down there in order for these hangar spaces to be serviced.
Point is, it's informational in nature, and
Yeah,
I can't speak to what he was gonna say about the second point, so.
yeah, the only thing he wanted to say on the second one was a discussion, and he said about the application.
Okay. Okay, if there's no other new business, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
And we'll set approve first. Thank you.